Hey everybody, thank you for stopping by tonight. I appreciate all of you coming by. I wrote myself some notes because this is our first get together and I'm getting older, so I wrote me some notes. Let me start with I am Carol. And this is my new channel. I have 3 channels. One of them is a reseller channel because I used to do reselling a lot, and I still do some, but I don't have my stuff on eBay or anything anymore. I thought for our premiere tonight I would tell you why I started this channel. Can We Talk? That's the name of the channel. Can We Talk? Losing anybody can be a very emotional experience. But when you lose a child, it's an experience that goes on and on. Sometimes therapy helps, some parents anyway, but not in all cases. In my case, it didn't. But even when it does, the hurt never goes away. It's always there. And in time, you learn to listen to your heart and try to distract yourself instead of getting down in the dumps and crying and depression. And so you go to do something, anything. Mop the floor, go have a cup of coffee, anything that makes you happy. And sometimes that works later on, but not right after you lose that child. Holidays, though, are never the same because you will always know that you are missing that person or those people. And it's been a long time now since both my daughters passed away, and I can tell you that when holidays come or birthdays come, it's a very emotional time for me. Let me read my notes here. And memories are everywhere. I don't care if you're still in the house where the kids grew up or you have moved. Memories are always everywhere. And do we ever truly get over it? Maybe some people do. I don't. I never got over it. But I've learned to, I guess you would say, accept it. And, but I remember when my kids were growing up, and they lost some friends as teenagers. And I remember thinking to myself, what would I do as a parent if anything happened to any of my kids, any of them? And then unfortunately, I lost my daughter to a car accident. She was only 18 years old and she already had a child of her own. She was, her and my older daughter, I had 3 boys first and then 2 girls. And I felt like, oh, I'm complete now, I got my girls. Well, they decided to go out one day for pizza. And so my youngest daughter was driving and she had her little baby with her, and he was a year old. And my daughter was 18, I think I said that. And my older daughter was, 21, I think, at the time. But anyway, they went out, they had a good day together, and they were on the way back home. And when they got almost to my youngest daughter's house, the car broke down. So they grew up in that area and they knew a lot of people. So they went over, they took the baby and they went and walked over to a girl's house that they knew. It was somebody my youngest daughter knew. Well, what happened is, I guess the girl had been up all night and she was into some drugs, and I guess she had been partying the night before all night long, but she wanted to give my daughters a ride so they wouldn't have to walk. It was really, really, really warm outside. It was August. And even though over and over and over again I told all my children all the time, if there's somebody that's drinking, do not get in their car. If there's somebody who looks funny, like they're on drugs or whatever, don't ever get in the car with them while they drive. Always wear your seatbelt, no matter whose car you're in. My car didn't move all the while the kids grew up unless everybody had their seatbelts on. Well, the girl went ahead and I told them, you know, like I said, don't get in anybody's car who's inebriated or whatever. But they wanted to ride home, and I guess they didn't heed my warning, and they got in her car. They started driving, and she started weaving on the road. Well, my youngest daughter was in the front seat with the driver. And she told her, my oldest daughter told me this because I wouldn't have known otherwise, that my youngest daughter kept telling her, come on, stop, let me drive. I don't think you can see where you're going and what have you, because she kept going over the line. So she went to go over the line too much, and so my daughter grabbed the wheel. When she did, the girl yanked it back and the car started rolling. And to make a long story short, my daughter went out the open window on the passenger side window. The car flipped about 3-4 times from what I understand, and it was a Jeep. And when my daughter went out the window was the last time the car had flipped, and when it was coming back down, it hit my daughter's ponytail with the tire, and the tire slapped down on the ground on top of my daughter's ponytail, and it broke her neck. Obviously, she died instantly. Nobody else was hurt bad. My older daughter had to go to the hospital, and they were pulling glass out of her for I don't know how long. The baby was fine, thank God that they had brought the car seat with them to that girl's house. But now my granddaughter didn't have a mom. And I didn't even know that at the time. My oldest daughter had called me, told me what happened, and was crying and screaming, and I kept telling her to pray because she kept telling me she's not going to make it. I know she ain't. You know, the ambulance is here. But I mean, I was so upset. I can't even tell you how upset I was, because I was not close to where they were. I was in another city, and it was, maybe about almost an hour drive to where they were. Maybe not, 30 minutes, an hour. But I didn't have my car home because my husband had taken the car to work. So I had to find him, get him to come pick me up. We drove to the hospital because my other daughter, well, they took everybody except the driver to the hospital. The driver refused to go. No surprise there. But the driver actually went home. She called her grandmother or something, and her grandmother came and picked her up, and she went home. And when I got to the hospital is when I found out my daughter didn't make it. She was the baby of the family. She didn't make it. I just couldn't believe it. I saw that my granddaughter was there with her father, And so I was glad she was okay. My daughter was in the emergency room getting MRIs done, my oldest daughter. And at that time, I didn't know that the girl had left the scene. But while I was sitting there waiting for my oldest daughter to come out of the MRI, a highway patrol lady came into the waiting room. And she was telling me, you know, what happened and this and that, and asked me who I was and this and that. And I was like, well, where is the driver? I mean, I couldn't comprehend why were my girls and the baby, well, like one girl deceased, the other girl at the hospital, and the baby at the hospital. Where is the driver? They said, well, she went home to sleep. I said, what? And they said, yeah, she went home to sleep. I said, just like that, huh? And she said, yeah, well, when I talked to my daughter, my oldest daughter, when she came out of the MRI, she was still groggy, of course, from whatever they gave her. But she was telling me exactly what happened, and she was really upset because they were very close. The sisters were very close. All my kids are close. And anyway, it was something really, really hard to get through. And everybody told me I needed to go, you know, I did everything mechanically, you know, setting up the funeral. My adult sons helped me do that because I could not even come to grips with what I was supposed to do next. I mean, it was complete and utter chaos for me because the kids were my life. So, I spent like about 2 years doing nothing except sitting on my sofa, eating when I felt like it, and crying, and trying to talk to my youngest daughter, and I didn't even care about taking a bath. I said, I never, ever thought something like this was going to happen to one of my kids, ever. And unless you've been through it, you really don't understand that this sticks with you. And I would talk to people, and they would tell me, you need to forget about that. You need to get that out of your mind. It's just something that happened, and, you know, you can't do nothing about it. And, you know, I would get all that. And it's not easy. You can't tell somebody, yeah, just forget about it, you know. But to make a long story short, my granddaughter went to live with her father, and life went on, okay, at a bad pace, but it went on. Very emotional. And then I was really upset when I was told by my daughter that the girl who was driving had been up all night partying, and she was on Xanax. And I was not for anything. She was taking them to get high, I guess. And I was so upset. I don't even think she got a ticket. Honestly, I don't think she even got a ticket. And it took me a long time to forgive her. And, but I was mad at my daughters too, because I had taught them not to get in the car with anybody who is impaired. And they did it anyway. And so I was upset. I was like, God, I don't know why. So anyway, I figured we have got to get through this somehow. I tried therapy. It didn't work. It just made things worse for me. It made things worse because they would rehash it and want you to talk about things over and over again in the childhood and, you know, stuff like that, trying to get you to talk. And I understand that, but in my case, I was tired of coming home from therapy and crying and crying and crying. And I said, I can't do this anymore. I developed the most hellacious case of panic attacks. And so I figured, you know, the Lord helped me get through it. He really did. Just being in the Bible, that is the only way I got through it. And that's my way. Not that it's going to be everybody else's way. And so anyway, life went on, as I said. And then 10 years, almost to the day that the youngest daughter got killed, the daughter who was in the car with her lost her life. And what happened with her is that she began drinking, and I didn't even know she began drinking. By this time, she had 3 kids of her own, okay? And I had found out later that when she was younger, she was doing heroin. And when I found that, no, let me back that up. No, I found out she was doing drugs before this. And so I had her put in rehab and stuff like that, and she got out, and I thought everything was good. She was working, and she got with her boyfriend, and they had 3 kids, and, you know, 2 kids at the time. No, 3, actually. 3. And they were all boys. And she was dealing with the hurt of losing her sister. I know she was, because they were close. And I think that she always thought, why did it happen to my sister and not me? You know, and because she had told me that once or twice, you know, why would it just be her? Why not me? You know, and, but anyway, what happened is 10 years later, my daughter, like I said, had started drinking. For a whole year she had been drinking, and she never drank before. I mean, so that was a surprise to me as it was. But I went to her house about 6 months before she passed away to see the grandkids. She lived in Kentucky, and I was living in Florida. And so we went to go visit her. And I had noticed she was drinking a lot that night, you know. And I said, "You've been drinking a lot lately?" She said, "No, this is for my boyfriend, blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to have 1 or 2, you know, whatever." I said, "You don't need to be drinking vodka." I said, "That's not good for you, especially straight," because that's what she was doing, drinking it straight. And so I just told her, "You need to give up the bottle, because I can tell you guys are drinking a little bit more than you're supposed to be doing, and that's not good for you." So I went back home and, you know, called her all the time, and she would say, "No, Mom, I'm not drinking anymore, blah, 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 blah." So then one day she gave me a call, and she sounded horrible. She sounded like she had no energy or nothing. And I said, "What's going on?" She said, "Mom, I've been throwing up blood." And she said, "And I mean blood." I said, "You need to get to the hospital right now. Don't wait. Go." She said, "Well, I got to wait till my boyfriend gets home." I said, "No, you don't. Call him at work. Tell him to get his ass home, because you need to go now." So the next thing I heard, I had called the hospital that was near their house, because I hadn't heard from her. And they told me that they were waiting on transport for her she had been sitting there for 3 hours in the ER throwing up blood. And these people just let her keep doing that. And, but that's a whole other story. But, they eventually life flighted her to a bigger hospital. That's when I knew this is serious. So when she got to the bigger hospital, She could still talk a little bit, but they couldn't keep her blood pressure up. It kept dropping and dropping and dropping. And they gave her test after test, and they said, finally told me her liver has failed, her organs are failing, and she's too weak. We cannot do surgery. And then I told them, okay. They said, you need to be on your way down here. I said, okay. So me and one of my sons, my adult sons, we got on a plane the next morning, and we headed out there to the hospital. For some reason, we had a layover in Atlanta because I don't know what happened to the plane, but we ended up having to spend the night, and they put us up in a hotel, and I was just a wreck. And I had called the hospital, and they said, yeah, things don't look very good. I said, well, I'm trying to get there, as fast as I can. And so anyway, we finally got there, but by the time we got there, she had already died. She'd already been gone. And the doctor told me, that she used to use drugs when she was a teenager. And, because she told them the truth about everything, which, I had told her, you be real honest with them about what's going on, because they can't help you if you don't, So he said that she had done drugs for several years, and then she got into rehab, and she was clean for 7 years, but she went to the bottle. And she was drinking, every night she was drinking a whole bottle, a quart, I guess it is, of vodka. And it finished off her liver and her pancreas. And what caused it, what happened was her liver, for lack of a better word, it exploded. And it poisoned all the organs in her body. I was like, I can't do this again. All I could do was scream, God, why? Why did you take both my girls? And I was screaming that for days. My brother came from Chicago. My husband drove up there. It was crazy. We had adopted 2 kids as well. Me and my current husband had adopted 2 children, and they had to come with my husband to Kentucky, and they were beside themselves because they were very attached to my other daughter. And it's just crazy, and we're losing so many kids nowadays, so many young people. We're even losing elderly people to this problem, okay? And I said, there's got to be more parents out there just like me. There has to be. And I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nurse. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a counselor. I did take, after all this crap happened, the only way I could get my head off of it was to go back to school. So I took a course on drug abuse, and it taught me so much, you would be amazed. And since I had YouTube channels on here, I said, okay, I know that there's a lot of people out there that are going through the same thing, lost children. If it wasn't to overdose, it was to a car accident, or it was to homicides, it was to even infants, So I decided to make this channel so we would have a place to all meet. Right now I'm doing it Thursday nights. I'm trying to do it at 8 p.m. Central, so we can all get on and watch you can watch my video, leave comments, and if you have any questions that I can help you with, or you just need to hear somebody else's perspective, leave your comment, and I will go through the comments as we get the new video every week, and I will try to answer your questions. If I don't know, or it's a medical question that I am not going to answer, obviously, I will tell you, and I will tell you if it's not a medical question and it's something I can answer or something that I think can help you kind of get through it, that's what I'll do. Now, I can read the comments out loud. If you don't want your name read, that's fine. Just let me know when you leave the comment. And, yeah, I'll be glad to answer any questions. I really will. There's just, you know, in this little bit of time, I can't sit there and tell you just what that did to my life. It turned our lives upside down. My husband was not their real father, but to him, he was. And I'm going to interview him in our next video. I'm going to interview him and ask him how he got through it. And because I seen him cry many times, you know, so I know that there's stuff, you know, there was feelings there. And we still feel it, you know, because there's certain movies our kids used to all watch together, like at Christmas, we would all get together and watch, what is that movie? Home Alone and Christmas Vacation and all them movies, you know. And, you know, there's traditions that you do as a family. And we were a pretty close-knit family. So to lose one was bad enough. To lose two was horrible. Especially since we adopted two other kids, a boy and girl sibling group that we loved dearly, just like our own kids. And boy, I tell you, I was overprotective of them until they grew up. I mean, you know, they were foster children, and yeah, I'm even willing to answer any questions about foster care and about people who lose their kids to foster care, because this drug problem, I mean, it causes a lot of problems. It really does. Like, for example, I would have never thought in a million years that my daughter was 31 when she died. Okay, she'd been drinking for only 1 year, okay, but she had wrecked her organs already from all the drugs she did as a teenager and a young person, okay. So at 31, she died. You know, and I see people sometimes drinking for years and they don't die. So obviously, doing drugs, drinking, and just doing one or the other can do so much to your body. It really can. But anywho, so our next video that I'm going to make is going to be where I interview my husband. And I'm going to have him tell you what he went through and how he dealt with it. And then we will also do comments. Either we're going to start with the comments or we'll start with his interview. We'll see. Let me know what you want to do if you want to have a word in there. But anything you want to know that I don't know, I will be glad to research for you. I just think that if we all get on here and we all can even just read comments and reply to them, or, you know, I think that would help everybody. And, I mean, it's 9 years since my last daughter died, but May 3rd was her birthday. And I can tell you, I felt it just like it was yesterday. So I know exactly what parents go through. And I also used to be a 911 operator in Texas. And some of the things that went by me every day, all because of drugs and drinking, it's stuff that nobody would even probably want to believe. really. And it's in every corner of the world. I don't care if you're in a small town, a big city, I don't care where you are, it's there. I kept track of all my kids, wherever they were, who they were with. I wanted to know the parents. I got all my kids in sports because I wanted them to have something to do besides hang out in the street. I had no clue whatsoever until I found out my daughter was doing heroin, and that's when I got her in rehab. But let me tell you what rehab told me. First of all, I did not have insurance for rehab for my daughter. So there was a rehab place where you could go. Now, I always remember this until now, or until several years ago. I didn't have any idea about rehab, how it was paid for, what they did in there. I didn't know crap. And when I took her to rehab, I had to drive a really long way to get her there because at that time, there was not many rehabs around. Excuse me. I took her into rehab, and the doctor that was on duty told me, he sent her to get a urine test. And he said, I want to tell you that because she don't have insurance, she will only be able to stay for 7 days. And he said, the habit that she has it's not gonna help her in 7 days. He said, I don't know what to tell you. If there's a way that you can get insurance that will cover this, because at that time they didn't even want to cover it, you know. He said, because that's all they allow you if you don't have insurance. And he said, I've had people who use crack cocaine. And he said, they have used it for years and years. And then they put them in here for 7 days. And he said, they need to be in for at least a year just to have a pinch of hope to not go back to it. And that came from the doctor of the rehab. So something to keep in mind because, you know, if you don't have insurance, some people do, but if you don't have insurance for rehab, I don't know. Maybe now they have some rehabs out there that will let them stay longer or, you know, I think if I remember right, he told me something like, now if she gets in trouble, we might be able to keep her longer. I thought that was so dumb. But anyway, so she stayed a week, and before you knew it, she was back on it. And I had to figure out how to get her in a long-term rehab. And then she finally got over it, or I thought, I don't know. And she had, as a matter of fact, she was still going to counseling, outpatient counseling, at the time that she got sick. That's the oldest one. But anyway, I don't want to keep you here forever. I know this has been a long video tonight, but I wanted to give you my experience and what happened and you know, who I lost. And I wanted you to get to know me better. Because I've aged a lot after that, I can tell you. I really did. Emotionally, physically, you name it. But I love all you guys. I'm so glad you stopped by tonight. Please make sure to give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Let me know in the comments if there's anything you would like me to touch on. I would be glad, like I said, to research it and get on here with it. Let's see, what else? Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you can get all the new videos as they come out. Maybe I'll be able to squeeze in more than one video a week. I'm going to try. And so you'll want to get that to let you know I put out another video. Any questions you have, put them in the comments. It helps the algorithm anyway. But I love all you guys. I hope everybody has a wonderful evening, a wonderful weekend. Get in my comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your opinion is. As long as y'all don't bully anybody in the comments, everybody is entitled to their own opinion. And, you know, I want to let everybody else know that. But there won't be any bullying at all. Because that's something I can't put up with. Okay? But otherwise, this is your channel. There's always a chair here for you. Come in, pull up a chair, take your favorite beverage that you like to drink. Hopefully not alcohol. But, you know, hey, you know, some people don't drink it like that. But anyway, yeah, bring your favorite beverage and watch the video and leave some comments for me. And we will see you on the next one. Bye.